Okay then, and welcome to myself, Sanjay, your local property agent, and I've got my personal mortgage advisor, David Howarth from AFP Wokingham, Uncle Dave as we know him. How you doing? I'm sorry, you've got that now. You've got that. I think it's going to stick. How are we doing? All right?
I'm really good, Sanjay. Thanks for talking to me today. Yeah, really, really good. How are you?
All good, all good. Busy as usual. Surprisingly, I think we're on the week before Christmas and I'm still like very, very busy, which is great. There's a lot going on. There's a lot happening. So what I want to talk about today, Dave, is I've got a few questions that the public have asked me, but I just wanted to get an idea of your sentiment of how this year has been for you as a mortgage broker.
Wow, that's hard to wrap up, Sanjay. It's been a year of completely different ends, if you see what I mean. Two completely different stories. So start of the year was really positive. Before the pandemic hit, it was set to be a really, really good year. House prices were climbing. Lenders had some excellent rates. It was good. Then obviously March sort of time, this pandemic really took hold. Lockdown happened. And yeah, I mean, purchases, estate agents closed their doors. Yeah. Surveyors couldn't get into houses. Solicitors were working from home remotely, unable to do what they needed to do. So it did quieten down. We're a lucky brokerage at the fact that we're quite established and we've got a big back book of clients that saw us through really well just talking to them. But the new clients stopped probably for a couple of months until sort of May time when that started to slowly pick up. Then when you guys, the estate agents, opened the doors again, I think I'm right saying around July time, it has just been an absolute whirlwind from that moment onwards. It has been really busy, really, really busy. Stamp duty holiday was introduced, which means everybody that was just sat on the fence thinking about buying a house has all of a sudden said, yep, let's go and do it. Yeah. And that has definitely contributed to the grey hair, I think. So
I wasn't going to say.
From that moment, even till now, frantic. Banks working on unprecedented timeframes, 2 months to get a mortgage offer. Surveyors being very busy. We're very busy. Solicitors very busy. Estate agents very busy. So very challenging from that time onwards. But not complaining. We're definitely making hay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk about first-time sellers. Because there's been a lot because obviously with what happens with the stamp, everyone that was on the fence, maybe had done a help to buy 2, 3, 4 years ago. And now thinking, right, now is the time, the whole mindset has shifted in like, I'm in an apartment and I want some outside space now because of what's happened this year. And a lot of first time sellers that haven't been through this process of selling and buying, they don't know, they're unaware of the process. So obviously it's down to us as agents to try and educate from a moving perspective, but financial perspective. What would you say to first time sellers that are looking to move? Let's take an example. One of them's done a help to buy 3 years ago. What would you say to them if they were like, right, we're looking to move, we want to move to a house, we want to upgrade to a 3-bedroom house, they're in a 2-bedroom apartment. What's the sort of advice you would give them to a first time seller?
So help to buy or not, it's very important to talk to a mortgage broker first before you even put that house on the market. Even more so when you've got help to buy involved, because there's another calculation that's involved in how much equity you can release, etc. So before you go and get your heart set on a property, start looking at houses for £500,000, £600,000 to move up to, you of course need to know that your income, your personal situation will allow you to make that step. So it's not just about selling your house and moving up. You need to know the finances are in place as well. So the very first step should be get in touch with a mortgage broker and have that conversation. Run through your income, outgoings. He can tell you how much equity you've got, look at how much deposit you can put down, look at how much you pay back to help to buy, and therefore then translate that into the sort of property you can afford to purchase when you move forward. So that's just the natural, obvious step. Strangely, so many people don't do it. And then they come back to us after they've found their dream home. And it's like, well, actually, sir, sorry, you can't afford that mortgage. And it's a real horrible conversation that's not necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the thing, right? So it's almost the same as solicitors. You want to get your solicitors instructed because especially for what's going on at the moment and the backlog and the workload, that's just so much. If you've already one step ahead of that, you've already saved yourself 2 weeks. And in this case, you could have saved yourself a whole move and a whole, marketing your property, going on for sale, doing all the viewings, etc., etc. So, yeah, I think that's so valid and it's super important. Another thing I want to talk about is the 10% deposit mortgages. Now, I remember 3 months ago, these were not really available. And if they were very, very limited and there was a strict criteria. What's going on right now?
Yeah, bang on as always, Sanjay. They were gold dust only a couple of months ago. So right now we have, you put me on the spot a bit, but test of my knowledge, I think 5 banks pretty much that are back in the 10% market, maybe more than that now, maybe as much as 6 or 7. Certainly most of the mainstream lenders have jumped back in now. So we've got Barclays, Halifax, NatWest, Nationwide. I think Santander might be one of the only ones that are out on a limb not doing it at the moment. And some of the smaller lenders have got back involved as well. So really good. A slightly looser criteria. It doesn't have to be a first-time buyer. Can be a home mover. Whereas Nationwide limited that term to 25 years. Other banks will give you 35, maybe even 40 years. It's not necessarily just for houses now. You can do flats as well. So that if you go to the right bank, you'll get a 10% deposit mortgage. But they are charging you for it. My goodness, those interest rates are very high, up in the 3% now.
Really?
But you can get a loan, which is the good thing. And it's only a 2-year fixed. It could be a sort of a short-lived pain, if you see what I mean. Hopefully 2 years down the line, you'll get a better deal.
Okay, fine. So if they're 2-year fixes, then you know it is a short-term problem. It is a short-term fix. You know, it's not going to be forever. You're not going to be paying that interest rate forever, which is good because then you're still enabling yourself to get on that property ladder if you're a first-time buyer. You know, looking at that 10%, which is good. Which is good. Okay, cool. Right, I've got a couple of questions which have come from the public. So what is the timeline of surveys to mortgage offer? So evaluation taking place to mortgage offer?
So that depends on the bank. If I'm really honest, some banks, survey to offer probably could be as quick as 3 days. But some banks will instruct that survey the moment the application gets submitted. So the survey is being carried out at the same time the bank is actually doing their underwriting. If that's the situation, you'll get your mortgage offer when everything's packaged up in about a week's time. Some banks do their underwriting first and then do the mortgage survey afterwards. So that is a bit more disjointed and it can take longer. But from that point of survey, you probably should be able to get your offer out 3 to 5 days pretty much. So it's not particularly long waiting times anymore.
So that's not too bad at all, is it?
No, that's not bad. The whole mortgage process, application to offer, realistically is about 2 weeks now. 10 days to 2 weeks.
So what about the surveys they're getting booked in? Are they still taking a while to get booked in? I mean, I think I've had one recently where it took 8 weeks just for the actual survey to take place.
Yeah, I expect you're thinking probably back a couple of months there, Sanjay. I mean, potentially, but you'd want to get it booked in within a week now, really. Yeah. 5 days to a week to get that done.
Just on a side note on that, I've seen a lot more desktop valuations taking place from lenders. Is that sort of more so now than before, maybe because of the workload, but what's your view on that?
I think that's the pandemic, which has sparked the need for them because, like we said earlier, surveyors just couldn't go into houses and have a look around and do those physical valuations. They weren't allowed. So banks had to adapt. There was a point in time where they reduced their loan to value right down to 60% because they weren't confident in lending on a desktop valuation at 70, 80, 90% loan to value. But now they've built that confidence in these electronic models, in these desktop models, they're doing that at higher loan to value. So it's happening more frequently. And of course, that saves the bank money. So whether a customer's paid the standard 200, 300, 400 quid, or whether it's a free survey, if the bank can do it cheaper, they're making money. So the desktop is the most cost efficient way to do it. So they've thought, oh, we can do it through lockdown. It worked. Why don't we keep going?
I mean, it saves everyone a lot of time as well, doesn't it? And a lot of ease. If it's only a mortgage valuation, not obviously a home buyers or building survey, they don't need to technically go around to the property because everything's online anyway.
No, absolutely. It does upset certain people. I had one this week, actually, where it was 700,000. It came back about 670, but it didn't affect the loan to value. Still get the amount of mortgage you wanted, still get the rate you wanted. So the bank just offered it. They said, well, that's fine for us. We'll just offer it. The client was a bit peeved, saying, I'm paying 700,000. Why are they? I said, but they haven't seen it. They've got no real ground to go on. They've just done what they need to tick their box. You can't, take it to heart because they haven't been to see the standard that house is actually furnished in, the quality of the finishes, etc. So it can cause problems, but 9 times out of 10, it's probably a good thing.
Interesting. Cool. Right. Next question. This is from Carla. What information do I need to have ready for my application?
Well, there's lots and lots. So initial conversation, like we said, if you just want to have a quick chat to understand how much you can borrow, I'm going to ask about your income, your outgoings, if you've got any kids, the value of your house, how much you got on mortgage, and how much deposit you've got. All those sort of things. If you've got any adverse, any bad credit. When you come to actually do the application, we're going to need evidence of most of that. So pay slips if you're employed, your tax return documents if you're not employed, if you're self-employed, bank statements, IDs, and probably a little mortgage questionnaire that we ask you to fill out. Nothing too taxing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Next question. How does interest rates look for the next 2 years? I know you can't predict it, but I mean, how do you, just from your experience, and I know you can't predict it, same as we can't predict what property prices are going to do. But I mean, your thoughts, I suppose, on that.
Do you know what? If you'd asked me this question in January, I would have been entirely wrong because it was a completely different ball game. Yeah. But right now, interest rates are, again, a tale of two stories, really. At the higher loan to values, say 75% and above, they're still very, very high. Lower than that, they're okay. They're fairly competitive. So I would be surprised, and who knows what's going to happen to the property market next year. That's kind of what's dictating those high loan to values to hold high interest rates right now. Yeah. But they may creep up a little bit more than what they are right now. But I would hope over a 2-year time frame, the housing market settles, the pandemic is behind us, Brexit's behind us, and everything's calmed down. So we might start to see it all stabilise again. So in my opinion, we may see a little bit more of a rise over the next couple of months, maybe until the stamp duty holiday ends. And then I'd like to see things start coming back down to a more respectable sort of level. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. We don't know. That's the reality of it at the moment.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Last question is actually from a recent client, which I was working with. What is the benefit of using an independent broker rather than going to a bank? And I know we've had this conversation numerous times, but I know personally, because I've used you for my last 3 mortgages, I know full well. But for someone, maybe a first-time buyer or even first-time seller who doesn't know too much about this process, what's your thoughts on that?
So like you said, Sanjay, you've benefited from, not just us, but generally having advice from brokers. It's just having someone there to guide you in the right direction from start to finish, especially for a first-time buyer, somebody completely new to the property market. They don't know if they're being spun a line by an agent, by a solicitor, by a mortgage broker. To have someone completely independent to say, that doesn't sound quite right. Actually, you might want to ask this sort of question or do it this way. An independent person to give advice is always valueless almost. Also, us as brokers have got access to the entire market in the UK. I'm speaking for us as a brokerage, all the lenders in the UK. So we will be able to have a really friendly, down-to-earth conversation in layman's terms about what your situation is, what you want out from it as a person, and find you the right deal. Now, if for any reason something comes out the woodwork that bank that we first suggested can't help, we will move on to the next lender and the next lender until you get your mortgage and you get that house you've got your heart set on. If you go into a bank, if you went into Nationwide, for example, they wouldn't give you any assistance other than getting that mortgage. Once you've got your mortgage offer, which is a very stressful, tedious process with the bank anyway.
Yeah, but exciting at the same time.
Yeah, it is. But they ask how much you spent on toothpaste every week and things.
Okay.
We've got to do a fact find, but we try and make it a bit more engaging and not quite so boring. And then they disappear after the offer's issued, whereas we will hold your hand until you get the keys to the house. And if Nationwide say no, then you walk out of the bank very disheartened thinking, what do I do? Whereas we'd be like, don't worry, we've got plenty of other options to try next. So the advice, the availability of products, the range of products that we've got, it's all just a package you don't get if you don't use a broker.
it's kind of like that, just personal service, right? It's kind of what we do here at Avocado. Like, it's just the personal, bespoke service, the one-to-one, understanding what your situation is, understanding the empathetic side of it, especially when it comes to finances. That can be stressful at its best, rather than even selling your house or moving. So, yeah, absolutely. Well, look, is there anything else you want to add, Dave, before we finish off?
Not for me, Sanjay. No, not at all. It's it's been a crazy year, and long may it continue at this sort of level, but I do need a bit of a break, I must give you that.
Absolutely. Good, guys, if you're watching this and you do know anyone that's moving, or first-time buyers or first-time sellers that might need this help or might need this advice, then please do share it with them. Obviously, like, comment. We'll come back to you with any questions that you've got. Uncle David Howarth from AFP Wokingham, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
No problem.
I'm sure I'll speak to you later. Oh, you're also, well done. You made it on my speed dial. I told you that about a month ago. He's on my speed dial. So that's how important it is to have someone that knows the industry inside and out. But no, I appreciate all your help so far. And long may it continue.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sanjay. Right. Good chatting to you today.
Cheers, Dave. Cheers. See you later.